Yes, oh yes, oh yes. This Honorable County Commission meeting is now open pursuant to adjournment. Commissioner John Gardner presiding.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Hutton if he'll lead us in our invocation. Everyone, please stand throughout the end of the presentation of colors and the pledge of the flag. Dr. Hutton, you're recognized, sir.
Great God, we come before you in thanksgiving and adoration. We come before you in supplication as well, as we ask that you be with us tonight as we do the work of this community. We ask, Lord, that all that we say and do would be done in a way that is honorable and is pleasing to you. We pray that by your Spirit you would work through us. Give us wisdom and discernment. Give us civility. Give us wisdom in all the things that we do. Lord, we need your help. We need your insight, your wisdom. We thank you so much for the freedoms that we have, the blessings that you have poured out on us. We ask, Lord, that you help us to be good stewards of all that you've given us. We ask that you would bless our time together this evening. We ask this in the powerful and awesome name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. At this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Darlene Cowton. You can either do it from your desk or the well, whichever one you'd rather do, for the introduction of our guest, the presentation of colors.
At this time, I'd like to introduce the awesome South JROTC to do the colors.
Present. Colors.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Colors. Secure. Colors.
Thank you, everyone. Be seated. When the board opens, please record your attendance. Has everyone recorded their presence? And clerk counts the roll.
19 present, 5 absent.
Spread on the men's desk. I should have a copy of the minutes. We haven't received those in email. Do we have a motion to approve last month's? Moved. Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes as printed signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Right now we have some guests and proclamations. Do we have a certain order that we wish to go in for that? I have Linda Brittingham with the Animal Shelter, Sullivan County.
Thank you. My name is Linda Brittingham, and I'm chairman of the Animal Shelter of Sullivan County. I want to thank this legislative body and all of Sullivan County citizens for your continued support that we have certainly received in the last several months. So tonight, I'd like to introduce our board of directors. First of all, Gina Fry is our vice chairman. She's executive director of the Children's Advocacy Center of Sullivan County, who had a prior commitment, along with Brian Boyd, who is our secretary treasurer, and Brian is the CEO and owner of Perfectus Clinical Systems. We also have Dr. Karen Stone. Dr. Stone is a veterinarian and owner of Appalachian Animal Clinic and Hospital. We have Dave Light. Dave is our local radio personality for AM Tri-Cities, and Paul Gibson, who is a retired local business person and also a National Civil War collector. And also, we're so excited for you to meet Cindy Holmes. Cindy is our executive director. She has experience in animal medical management as well as a veterinarian technician. She also has been a small business owner and CEO herself and has much business experience, and she holds a BS of Allied Health and a master's degree from East Tennessee State University. And I really want you all to welcome now Cindy Holmes.
Thank you all very much. I will not take up much of your time tonight. I just wanted to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for your support as we endeavor to get things moving the right direction at the animal shelter, which we have. Today was a monumental day for us at the animal shelter, and I do invite each and every one of you to come out and see the changes that have been made. Today, every animal in our facility that is old enough and available has been spayed or neutered. They are completely vaccinated to include boosters. They have all received free treatment and necessary medical treatment. The facility is a much different place than it was 8 weeks ago. And again, I would love to see every single one of you come out and see the wonderful changes that we have made. And to meet our new staff, we've got several new team members there that are just animal advocates and lovers. So thank you so much, and I appreciate the warm welcome, and I hope to see you all soon.
At this time, I'd like to invite Don Osborne to come to the well for recognition of service, Board of Zoning and Appeals. I recognize Amber Torbett for the presentation.
Thank you. So most of you all probably already know Mr. Osborne, but we have come to love him. He has served on our Board of Zoning Appeals for the last 8 years, and he told me he needed to leave and retire fully, but I said he couldn't do that until he found a replacement, which he did. So I just really wanted to recognize him for his service. He has been instrumental in keeping me in check. If you're not familiar with the Board of Zoning Appeals, we hear and decide some difficult cases on personal property, and it can be really tricky, but he always makes all of our applicants feel at home. While it is considered a quasi-judicial board, he's very professional, but he always greets all of the folks that come in, and he distributes candy, so we call him the candy man. So without fail, I get a pile of candy, and maybe I'll lose weight now, I don't know. So, but at this time, I would like to present a plaque to you, Mr. Osborne, for your 8 years of service on the board. You are already greatly missed, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much. It's certainly been an honor and a privilege to serve on the board and to work for the county. We live in a great county. We live in a great nation. May God bless you all.
Thank you.
And she is number one.
And on behalf of the UTA Agriculture Extension, representing the Farm to Fork program, I'd like to invite Rachel Dean to the well. You're recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the time to speak this evening. My name is Rachel Dean. I'm the Family and Consumer Science Agent with UT Extension here in Sullivan County. And we are very excited to announce that we are having our 4th annual Farm to Fork dinner on October 25th of this year. We will be partnering with Central High School's Culinary Arts Department again. These students are extremely talented. They've won gold at the state level, and they've also competed nationally at Skills USA competitions. They will be preparing a multi-course gourmet dinner using ingredients locally sourced from the fall harvest from our farmers market. And we feel this is a really great way to promote our locally grown foods and provide our students with the opportunity to prepare a delicious meal for everyone, served in the street in front of the courthouse in historic Plumpville. We'll also be highlighting the beautiful Deary Inn that will be open during the dinner, and if weather does not agree, as in October, we never know if it'll be super hot or if it will be cold, we'll actually be dining inside, so you'll have the chance to experience that as well. So we are very excited about that, and I would like to invite you all to the Farm to Fork dinner, And this just highlights the partnership between UT Extension, Central High School, and our local farmers market. Again, that's going to be October the 25th at 5:30. Please see me for ticket information, and you can contact our office or check out our website for more information on that as well. They're going to be $75 for one, and then 2 for $125 if you purchase 2. All right, thank you for your time this evening, and we hope to see you at the Farm to Fork dinner and spend the evening with you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the floor up for our public comment portion of the agenda. As I call your name, please come to the well and give us your name and your address. And first on our list, and I apologize, sir, if I mispronounce your name, Troy Everett. How'd I do?
You did great.
All right.
Thank you very much for honoring me tonight. My name is Troy Everett. I live at 248 Clearwater Drive in Kingsport. I believe that's just at the edge of the 6th District. What I wanted to speak to you all tonight about briefly was one of your agenda items tonight is specific with the Warriors Path. Looking at that water line extension. I'm encouraging, and I am in high support of this project, living in Sullivan County, and actually living in the city. We have the state parks bring a lot of funds. They bring a lot of visitors to our region, and not only from the state of Tennessee, but we're talking regionally. Especially when we have major events coming in, like what happens in Bristol a couple of times a year, different things. You know, those campgrounds get packed. And what they're looking at, and there'll be a presentation later talking about it, but they're looking at a major expansion of that facility. And without the increase, or without the support from the commission, and of course the city council as well on this, this project's not going to be able to go through. So $150,000 from y'all, getting some money from the city at the same time means we're going to bring over $6 million in from the city, from the state, to be able to do this project, bring more folks in our area, and then just support our region as well. So that's all I have to say on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next on the public comment list, Paul Becker.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm Paul Becker, the pastor at Concordia Lutheran Church in Kingsport, so I'm a resident of the city and the county. Coming up on 25 years, first Sunday in October. So I've known Mr. Gardner for a long time now. I'm very impressed to see where you're sitting tonight, sir.
Thank you.
I would also thank the commissioners for getting the meeting time when it is on Thursday evening. This is my first Thursday night meeting I've attended, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. I know it wasn't without controversy, I'm sure. One other thing that's coming up, some of our schools will probably be observing the Bring Your Bible to School Day. I have mixed feelings about that, because I think it should be a bring your Bible to school every day kind of thing, but that's just me. So, the last thing I want to bring to your attention is an organization called Tennesseans for Life, which I mentioned to the board, mayor, and aldermen a couple nights ago. It's a new organization. It's completely volunteer. There are no paid staff people in any way, shape, or form. So we are trying to live up to our name of the volunteer state. And every dollar that we raise goes to a local crisis pregnancy center. Hope House in Kingsport, Abortion Alternatives in Bristol, Agape in Johnson City, or Catholic Charities. And this year, they will apply for a grant for whatever we raise at our dinner coming up on the first Saturday in October at the Ron Ramsey Agricultural Center. Last year, we were blessed to raise about $15,000, which was matched by the Knights of Columbus, and we purchased an ultrasound machine, which is being installed in Bristol this month. So I don't know if you were aware of that or not, but this is a very effective, even though very young organization, and I encourage you to give it your support. I think you got an email about it. I have a few extra printed flyers if you'd like one after the meeting. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And I'd like to recognize Commissioner Joe Herron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. For the record, Joe Heron, 1541 Bright Ridge Drive, Kingsport, Tennessee. I just wanted to take the opportunity in the public session comments to talk just a couple of minutes in regards to the jail issue. Not necessarily in building the jail, but some things I think that we could be actively doing here to curtail the number of inmates at the Sullivan County Jail. As we all know, there's around 619 beds at the jail, and currently we're housing around 1,000 inmates. And that costs approximately $40 a day, and you can do the numbers. And I would hate to think that we would wait till the new jail or renovation of this jail prior to doing anything. And what I did, I wrote down a few things that, and the reason I came up here, just to throw these out so we could be thinking about them and we could discuss them later. But when you arrest somebody, we have 72 hours from when someone is incarcerated to the arraignment. And we can speed this process up by doing more than one thing. There's a thing called at intake. It's called a pretrial release. And a pretrial release is when a person is arrested and they go into intake. That and I know Knox County used magistrates there, and you can use magistrates or judge or whoever you want to use, and then they can do the pretrial release, which is the arraignment at that time, and this is on nonviolent offenders only. If a person would hurt somebody or be at risk for the public, then this wouldn't work. But there are a lot of nonviolent offenders, so I'm just throwing that out that that we could do that at intake. It's called pretrial release, and you could look that up. Another scenario would be if we hire a judge to take care of arraignments so that we can get them through quicker. And we could do that as a day court or a night court. You guys probably remember, well, some people old as me, a show called Night Court, where they used to have this stuff. So if we could do something like that, that would speed it up and it would put the people back home, taking liability away from the jail. Another thought that I had was that if we could authorize arresting officer through a software package of when they go out, that they could look in a software package, set a court date, and do something of that nature to prevent them from going to the jail right then. There's the ankle bracelet that we could start using. I think it's $8 a day for the use of that versus $40 a day for having an incarcerated person there, and then we could charge that back to of those that could use that. And then we also need to talk about better utilization of support programs to rehabilitate these people, because most people that's incarcerated is there directly or indirectly because of drugs and or alcohol. And I think we need to work on these support programs and come up with some ideas that we can help to rehabilitate these people and reduce recidivism of the ones going in there. Judge Steve Jones told me a long time ago when I used to volunteer at the court, he said, Joe, it'd be a lot better if we could build better people rather than building better facilities. And I think there's a lot that we as a commission and this community can do in order to do that. And so what I would like to ask is this, is that we talk about having a special call session of this commission along with Barry Staubus, the judges, the Sheriff's Department, any other that would be here that can make decisions and see if we can't reduce this population at the jail while we're waiting on what we're going to do on this new jail. And I think we could save mega money. And there's an old saying I'll leave you with. that the worst thing in the world we can do is nothing. So we have a choice of being proactive or reactive, and that decision is ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That completes the names that were on the sign-in sheet. I'd like to extend courtesy if anyone didn't get the opportunity to sign up that would like to speak. Feel free.
Good evening, my name is Lee Powers, and I live at 58 Three Oaks Drive in Bristol, Tennessee. And I just want to be sure that all of you understand that you're more than welcome to come and join us for this little party that'll start tomorrow evening in Bristol for Bristol Rhythm and Roots. I have the pleasure of serving on the board for the birthplace of country music, and there's been an incredible effort put into this year. It's our 19th anniversary. Next year will be 20 years. And we hope that you will come up and see what's going on. Secondly, I serve on the board of Network Sullivan Partnership, and I wanted to clarify that in our last board meeting, we did take a look at the request for a statement to be given to show our efforts of collaboration and cooperation with NetRep, the economic development entity of Washington County, Tennessee. In that statement, there was much discussion that went back and forth, and the 10th item, it did suggest that we would keep an open mind if it proved to be in the best interest of the region for the two entities to merge. There was discussion about that. There was even a request to remove that. It was not removed, and the statement was passed. But for clarification, at no time was June 2020 established as a drop-dead date of a merger, that the discussion of a merger would be ongoing if it seemed to serve the purpose of the region at its best, but there has not been a commitment made to a hard merger. And I just felt that it was important to let this body know. So, because I've been fielding calls all day today about that. So, I appreciate your time this evening. Hope that you will most certainly come to Bristol for Bristol Rhythm and Roots.
If you would hang on right there, Commissioner Stanley has a question or comment. Recognize Commissioner Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Powers, for coming and speaking to us today. My question is, if Networks decides to merge with the Washington County Board of
NetRep.
Would that take the vote of the county commission to approve that, for those two bodies to merge?
My understanding, and it is only my understanding, is that we had an intergovernmental agreement that should the board of networks want to merge, it would then need to be approved by the intergovernmental partners.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, seeing no one else seeking recognition for public comment, public comment is now closed. And we now move on to the approval of notary public. Spread on your desk is a list of notaries. And I recognize you reading the list.
Anna C. Atkins, Holly Ann Arnold, Lydia M. Ashley, Brandy Suzanne Atkins, Debbie Baker, Troy D. Baker, Shayna Ann Bishop, Sheila M. Buchanan, Christine C. Carr, Carolyn T. Cox, Crystal Carter Depew, Brandy Detrick, Tim H. Earls, Dreama E. Stepp, Stephanie Duty Farley, C. Bruce Fisher, Betty Fike, Brittany Morgan Fleener, Frances Diana Hamby, Tammy Lynn Hammonds, Tina C. Hensley, Lisa D. Tina C. Henley, Lisa D. Hensley, Michelle D. Howington, Jennifer Kroll, Melanie M. Land, Patricia H. Larkin, Michael Shane Legg, James Michael Manis, Linda Newman Morris, Lee A. Music, Kathy Payne, Gwen Pugh, Deborah D. Rice, Samuel Kilgore Ross, Jessica Sarver, Jan M. Seals, Lauren Ansley Schuber, Jennifer Smith, Daniel Street, Mark J. Corbett, Blaine E. Wade, Dandridge Lee Walker, Katie Elizabeth Weiner, Velma L. Witt.
You've heard the list. When the board opens, cast your vote on approval of notary public. Madam Clerk, announce the vote.
20 yes, 4 absent.
At this time, we will enter into our the resolution portion of the agenda. We have a consent calendar. Are there any items anyone wishes to bump off of the consent calendar? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent calendar as printed, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, of course, I will take care of it anyway. Consent calendar is adopted. And we now move into the zoning portion of the agenda. I recognize Mrs. Corbett in the way.
Thank you. We have one rezoning request to present to you tonight. So should we take care of resolution number 1 first?
Commissioner Cowden presents item number 1 for adoption. All those in favor of item number 1, we put that on the board, correct? Okay. When the board opens, cast your vote on item number 1. Madam Clerk, announce the vote, please.
20 yes, 4 absent.
Item number 1 is approved. Ms. Corbett, you're recognized.
Thank you. In your packet, you should have the rezoning request. Should be on the screen if you can, okay. If not, it's no big deal. But this rezoning request is from the property owner at the time of application was Aries Outdoor Supply Incorporated, which is a corporate name for the commercially zoned property. And the applicants are Little and Gooch. They are residential developers. And there is the property as a whole. This is in Piney Flats. You currently can access it from Mountain View Circle, which is the end of that subdivision road. In your packet, though, I do want to point out the survey. Here's the current zoning map. And I'll go back. Okay, here is the survey that I would like for you to understand. We are not rezoning the entire commercially zoned property. We are only rezoning that portion that you see the lots as conceptually laid out. So it will be an extension of Mountain View Circle subdivision.
If I could interrupt you just a
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry.
There's a couple members that don't have a packet. I was going to see if we could address that.
So
No one has a packet?
I put them personally in your boxes. That's where, a month ago, so I apologize. I was trying to help Angela out, so maybe I messed up. But they're all in the boxes as well as emailed to you all. So I apologize. I know you get a lot of paperwork. Okay. So we are rezoning that half of that, the top half, and it is adjacent to, as you can see, residential on the back, on the northwest, and that's brown color. That is the R3D, which is high density single family, such as patio homes or townhouses. And then the yellow is R1 single family residential. So we are rezoning the top corner from B3 to R3B, and that is the request. So it will be an extension of the existing zoning district of R3B. They will be single-family detached homes, but because there is public sewer from Johnson City and public water, they can reduce the square footage of the minimum lot size. The developers are here if you have any questions. This is approximately 3.49 acres according to the survey. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended in favor of this request. We did not have any calls or concerns or anyone show up at the Planning Commission meeting in opposition.
You've heard the explanation. Is there any further discussion on Amendment 1 to the zoning packet? When the board opens, cast your vote on zoning amendment number 1. Oh, excuse me, Ursula didn't?
That's my area. I didn't get that packet. That's fine, but with no opposition to the rezoning at this time, I'd like to have the commissioner's support on that if I could, please. I think it would be good for our area and the growth in that area.
Thank you, Commissioner Glover. Is everyone ready to vote? Madam Clerk.
20 yes, 4 absent.
After receiving the necessary majority for passage, Amendment 1 to the zoning is approved.
Thank you very much.
And that puts us back into our normal resolution calendar. We'll move to item number, excuse me? I never actually took us out, so. We're rolling. Item number 3 is sponsored by Commissioner Jones and Stanley. You're recognized, sir, for explanation. 2 was on, oh, excuse me, I thought that was on consent. Y'all got it on pieces. Let's go backwards. Fuel, pressure running. Commissioner George, you're recognized on item number 2.
I'd like to move to defer it to next month's calendar because the sponsor and co-sponsor are not here.
Without objection, item number 2 is deferred till next month. Commissioner Sam Jones, you are recognized on item number 3.
Thank you. This is the resolution for an appropriation of funds for the construction of a 6-inch water line at Warriors Pass State Park. I'd like the Commission's permission to introduce Sarah Levy, who is the Warriors Path Park Manager. There is a presentation that should be coming up. This has been a 4-year project to get this to where we are today. And the reason this portion came up, after it had been approved from the state, the whole concept, then the fire marshal looked at it after all the money was approved and said, I'm not going to approve it until we get a water line in. So we should have it. There's a presentation.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, thank you very much for your time today. I'm going to try to be as brief as I possibly can. My name is Sarah Leedy. I am the Park Manager at Warriors Pass State Park. I've been Park Manager at Warriors Pass since December of 2015, and I have been employed by the Tennessee State Park Service for 21 years. Tennessee State Parks offers a variety of different styles of parks, and as most of you may know, Warriors Path is a very densely recreation-oriented park. It's an outdoor playground. It's where a lot of our citizens from not only Sullivan County, but just the Tri-Cities, the whole state, Southeastern Regional, and really we do get international travel as well. We are one of the top visited parks, Tennessee State Parks. We're kind of in an arm wrestling match every year between us and Fall Creek Falls, and we have Tennessee to average around between 2 and 2 million visits per year. So the fact that we do that in 950 acres and Fall Creek Falls does it in 26,000 acres shows you how busy we are. There's always people. We're always hopping at Warriors, and we're proud of that. We're obviously located in the community of Colonial Heights, and there's a very home backyard feel for that. We host a lot of wedding receptions and family reunions and that kind of thing. This is all things that you all are well aware of, I'm sure. So let's see here. And I'm trying to figure out how this thing goes. Is there a secret to advancing the slide? Okay. Okay. So, we are funded in two ways. We are funded by general funds from sales tax revenue by the state, and we are direct revenue funded. Direct revenue is what we generate directly in the park through user fees and revenue sales and in the park. Our expenditures, so this is our breakdown of fiscal year 2018-19. So you can see our appropriations were less than our direct revenue, and that is a fact I'm very proud of. Most Tennessee state parks, their direct revenue is about 25% of their annual revenue. So we directly earn $1,253,000 and change last year from, that's anything from campground to every round of golf, retail sales, gift shop sales, food, marina slip rentals, if you rent a picnic shelter, all of that goes into direct revenue. I am missing a slide in this, I apologize. I developed this and emailed it in from the road yesterday. So our visitation, I said that already to me. One of the things I'm proudest of in Tennessee State Parks is we are still free to visit. We make direct revenue based on voluntary usage of our facilities, but if you want to just come with your family and picnic, you can do that. If you want to come with your kids and play at the Boundless Playground that the Friends Group, grassroots, created and built, you can do that, and that's one of the things I'm very proud of. So our total revenue for 2018-19 is not on that graphic, but it was $2,345,000 and change. And our total expenses for the fiscal year of 2019 that just closed out were $2,345,000 and change. We operate on a balanced budget. We use the state appropriations to balance. You'll see that we have a very large personnel expenditure, $1.5 million for personnel. That is 21 full-time benefited employees for the state of Tennessee. In the summer, we expand out. We hire on many more than that because we have to staff the lifeguards and the grounds staff with part-time seasonal employees. So we have between 40 and 50 summer helpers. So in summer 2019, at one point I had 69 employees at the park. So we have over 300 volunteers. That is 25 golf hosts, 2 camp hosts, and all the rest of those volunteers are strictly citizen-based. That they come and they help us do 2 work days a year at the Boundless Playground, Tennessee Promise Hours. We do a Tennessee Promise work day every year so that our college students can come and get their 8 hours in a state park, and we handle it that way. So our volunteer hours for fiscal year 2019 were over 5,500 volunteer hours. So this is a community park. We operate through the love and support of our community. So next slide, please, because I'm not having any. I'm sorry. I touched it and it doesn't want to work. I apologize. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. So a 2010 economic study by the University of Tennessee Department of Agriculture found that for every dollar spent in Tennessee State Park, an additional $1.11 was spent in the neighboring surroundings of the park. So when people come to camp, and several of you do come to camp, and I thank you for that very much, you don't just come and pay your camp fee and settle in. You're gonna go out to the grocery, and you're gonna buy on average $56 in groceries every time you make a trip to my campground. All of this information is sourced in the cited article, and I will be glad to give that to you. However, it is a 10-year-old study, and I have not attempted to adjust for inflation. It's thinking. So I can start a very nice campfire. I'm not that great at technology. Okay, so next slide, please. That's backwards. So here's our sales tax distributions for Warriors Pass State Park. This is direct sales tax. For the prior 5 fiscal years. Now our fiscal year just closed out on June 30th. 2019. So this information is pretty hot off the presses. You can see there's a column for state sales tax, that's the 7%, and then local tax is 2.25% that goes directly to Sullivan County. Now, if you take that economic study that I cited in the previous slide, so if you multiply the local portion of sales tax that the park generated directly in the park, and you multiply that by the $1.11, you can see that sales tax generated outside the park is actually more than sales tax generated inside the park. So this is the direct revenue that we are generating on y'all's behalf. Next slide, please.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Could you address also the projected new revenue with the development?
We expect the revenue development coming in is going to be generated through an upgrade of 40 campsites, which will give us almost twice the amount of the rate for those, and then the upgrade of the marina slips and hopefully being able to handle more traffic there. And so we're projecting $10,000 to $12,000 more a year in sales tax generation directly from this project. So, and I appreciate y'all's patience through that quick summary of the park's activities. And from here on out, we're going to see a series of architectural designs formulated by Reed & Sykes, which is the company that designs the capital project that we are working on at the moment. Next slide, please. So we have an overhead view of the park. This will correlate to the map that you have on your desks. If you would like to reference that, you're welcome to. So the overhead of the park shows Duck Island prominently in the middle. Across from Duck Island is the marina, and then the Overflow campground is what we have labeled in this project as Campground B, because it will no longer be an overflow when we're finished. It is out on Hemlock Road along the lake. On your maps, it's about midway up the lake there. So this is an overview to show you that we are going to be impacting a large area of the park. We are not going to be breaking new ground into pristine forest for this. This is all in facilities that currently exist. That has been a valid concern that citizens have brought to me in the last couple of weeks, and I just want to put everybody's mind at ease that we are not going to be tearing out rare and endangered species for these things. This is going to be upgrades of existing facilities that were built in the mid-1970s and haven't had hardly any work done to them since. So, next slide, please. This is the conceptual drawing of Campground B. This is roughly the same shape of the current Overflow. The Overflow campground is 40 campsites that do not have electric and water. They're intended for tent sites only. We do have 2 brand new, less than 3-year-old bathhouses in that facility already, and they will remain as critical infrastructure to this upgrade. So what we have here is, you can see we will now have pull-through sites. All of these sites will be 20 feet wide, and we're going to be ranging from 55 to 60 feet in length. We're going to upgrade 30 and 50 amp service, and we're going to have full sewer hookup connections at every one of these campsites. This will change that rate structure from $13 a night for tent camping to $37 a night at minimum, and this will be a much more industry standard campsite. So for today's RVs, we need this kind of size. This will be highly utilized during Bristol race events, for sure. Next slide, please. This is the overview site plan of the Marina site. What is depicted here is the proposed new building. We are going to build it in the parking lot directly adjacent to the current structure. We are going to build a whole new set of slips that are going to be covered slips for our boat rentals, for private rentals, and then ADA compliant small boat rentals for our paddle boats, canoes, kayaks. Our small boat rentals doesn't seem like that big deal. Paddle boats seem fairly inconsequential when you look at them, but considering the fact that we had over $50,000 in rental sales in to close out 2019, we're very proud of our rental facility. That's a lot of paddle boats. So we're going to build a new building directly next to the yellow building, and we're going to operate in very tight quarters. We're going to operate our existing building until we're ready to move into the old building, and we'll tear the existing one down. Next slide, please. So this is a beautiful rendering by 3D Insight. So bird's eye view, you can see the park roadway there at the front. We're changing the architecture to be more consistent with existing architecture on the park. Not quite so cubist, but more of a timber construction, timber frame construction, and slightly more rustic look than what we have right now. Next slide, please. This is our floor plan layout. The dining area in the middle for the snack bar. We currently have a snack bar that is not utilized very well, but we have some of the best hamburgers in the region, and you can get shut-arounds all day. So, so the right-hand side of the building is the kitchen. The center section is for dining. The left side section is a private party rental room, which we do not currently offer, and then restrooms that will be open 24/7, 365 as the ones we have for now. There will be a hard wall door between that wing and the main dining room wing, and it'll be video surveillance set up so that we can try to maintain security as much as we can. Next slide, please. So this is a this front entrance view of that building. I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it's absolutely gorgeous structure without being overly complicated, and I think it's going to suit the architecture of the area just fine. So next slide, please. So rendering of the marina. So if you have a boat and would like to rent a spot from us, you'll be able to rent that undercover. Our current marina is not covered, but it is the only marina on Patrick Henry Reservoir. Next slide, please. Another bird's eye view of the rental dock. You can see it's slightly different. That is because in order to meet ADA guidelines, we had to go with something a little bit lower to the surface of the water. That's a modular dock system, so we can adjust it to fit whatever our rental needs are going to be, and that way we're making it much easier to load people in and out of kayaks. So, next slide, please. Site plan overview of what is now currently the recreation hall. I apologize, this is a bit small, but the recreation hall on Duck Island is a facility that we rent half of it to private parties, and the other half is an unused game room, and no longer a discontinued use game room. We can't rent that to the public because there's no exterior door. One of my main complaints when I got to Warriors Path is the customers can't find us. The visitor experience at Warriors is difficult because our headquarters is a small, nondescript building at the front entrance, and people will come in, get through the little malfunction junction there at Hemlock Fall Creek in the park entrance, and they're already past the park building before they realize that they've missed the park the park headquarters. The recreation hall looks like a visitor center, and rather than build a new 6,500 square foot visitor center, we looked at the possibility of just flipping this, repurposing the game room, which is a much prettier room in my opinion, to the public rental space, and then the auditorium, we're going to convert that to park headquarters and administration space. My office will be there, park ranger's offices will be there, my admins will be there, and then the front lobby will be a front lobby with a gift shop. One of the most important things that we're doing here is the restrooms in the rec hall. The front entrance of the rec hall will be reconfigured in such a way that the restrooms to the rec hall will be open even if the building is not. And that will be our only source of ADA compliant restrooms on Duck Island. So the busiest walkway in Tennessee State Parks doesn't currently have accessible restrooms, and this will be able to get that. So I'm very proud of that. So next slide, please. And this is just a blow up of that visitor center proposed changes. So we will have a deck off of the end, and that'll just make for a very pretty view out over the lake. Exposed scissor trusses in that room is going to be great. Next slide, please. So here's the front. As you can see, we're not changing hardly anything about the front of that building. If you are familiar with the park at all, basically putting a new vestibule on the front, having a new grade entrance straight in, just to give it more curb appeal and make it more attractive to the visitors. So, next, please. And the side. So this will be the room that you will actually rent. Much, much prettier than our current auditorium. Next, please. Now, this is, I said all of that to say this. The new marina, as a new public structure, must be sprinkled. Must have a sprinkler system for fire suppression. The visitor center, the rec hall converted to visitor center, where it's a renovation, it doesn't have to have the sprinkler system retrofitted, but it does have to have a minimum pressure and volume on the fire hydrant out at that end of the Duck Island Causeway. Our current water main goes from 400 Warrior Drive down to the intersection of the causeway, and that is a 4-inch water main. It divides out there and goes 2 inches to the current marina and 2 inches out the causeway. So we have a fire hydrant on a 2-inch water line right now. Most garden hoses have more pressure than that fire hydrant has on it right now. That makes me very nervous as a public safety officer. So we are ready to go with this project. This project is a state building commission project. So the little bit of process on that is State Parks proposed this project with support of government officials, elected officials who really want to do something nice for the park. And we make this proposal to the State Building Commission. They give us a budget, and we take all of our wish list and whittle it down to meet the budget that they have given us. We submit what's called a document of scope. It's a description of the scope of the project. And the scope of this project is tear down and rebuild the marina, renovate the rec hall, and upgrade the campground. We did not foresee that the water line was not going to be sufficient. So the water line is not in the scope of the project. Once the State Building Commission approves your scope, you can take things out if you need to meet budget, but you cannot add things in. This is a protective measure. This is, because this is general fund funded, this is a way to protect your project from a park manager, for instance, having a pet project and funneling money away from the State Building Commission project. So the reason, I know it's highly unusual for state parks to address a county and municipal government and ask for funding to help with something like this. We went to our utility company to ask for an upgrade to the water line. Well, our utility company is the city of Kingsport, and that has led to this conversation here today. And I do understand that it's highly unusual to hear this kind of request from state parks. 21 years in government in state parks, and I've never seen it done. The ramifications of not getting this water line passed in this way means that I have to talk to my administration, and we have to go to the State Building Commission and ask to add this to the scope, and they won't let us. They will reset the program all the way back to the beginning. And we literally have to go back to the drawing board and start the process over. This project was proposed first time in 2015, approved and put in the budget for 2016. So we're already 4 years into this project, and we're hoping to avoid having to start from scratch and do it again. So next slide, please. Thoughts and questions?
At this time, I'll yield back to Commissioner Jones, the sponsor. If you have any comments, anyone else has any questions, be glad to recognize you.
Sarah's ready to answer any questions if anyone has a question about it. If nobody has any questions.
I have a list going here. I'll start at top.
Oh, we can't see it.
Yeah. Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized, sir.
So I'm curious as to so you're asking 75,000 from Sullivan County Commission, 75,000 from the city of Kingsport, is that correct?
That is correct. We're asking the city of Kingsport to install this water line for us, and half of that cost is being asked from the county commission.
All right, so I was trying to do a little quick math. So what your projections are is that we can expect, what, maybe $29,000 a year coming back in. I'm trying to figure out at what point the county will see that $75,000 back.
If at the current rate, 3 years or so. So $29,000 is what we contributed to the economy just this last year. So if we add, our projection of 10 to 12,000 extra sales tax dollars to that, be 36, 37, up to 40. So 2.5, 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Crawford, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You were talking about the expansion of the Overflow campground, and but this has nothing to do with that expansion and that upgrade. Is that correct?
The water system is currently sufficient to make the overflow expansion happen, but that is just one. That is one of the 3 main pieces of the scope of this project.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Commissioner Jones, excuse me, Commissioner Hutton just lit up there. Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized.
These questions are more for the sponsors, I guess. What happens if we vote no? I mean, to go back to the drawing board, is that what happens, or is the state going to kick it down?
We
Is the
reset.
state going to pick it up? We have to start all over?
Have to start all over because you have to go back to the drawing board and it starts all over, and it could be, who knows if they would even approve it again. Yeah.
Yes, this project was created and approved under the previous administration.
I guess part of my question is, where is this coming from, the 75,000? What line item, what budget item, where's it coming from? What account? Is it coming from the tax increase? Is that what we're counting on? General fund?
General fund. Or fund balance. So that's where anything that wasn't in the budget that we approved, that's where it has to come from.
I mean, I thought the reason, one of the main driving forces for raising things 2 cents was to build that up. And this seems like an immediate drawdown. I mean, I think it's great, we should probably do it, but, I mean, leaner times feel like they're coming, and we're gonna, I mean, right off the bat, we're drawing it down. I'm just curious about that. That's all I have.
Commissioner Calhoun.
I just have a comment. I realize you just come to us for $75,000 for the water line, but how long has the park been out there and we have had a lot of revenue from you?
The park was established in 1952.
Right.
The revenue, the campground was expanded to its current size. The marina was built and the golf course were built in the early 1970s.
Right. But this is not a normal thing for them to come for money, but they are taxpayers.
Commissioner Herron.
Thank you. Yes, in regards to Commissioner Hutton's concern, which I definitely understand that, is I look at this as an investment, not an expenditure. We can have expenditures where that the money goes away and there's no return. Within 2.5 years, we're going to get this back. When I was looking at the chart, several charts back, you had a chart that started at the bottom, year 2015 through 19. It looked like every year more and more people utilized the park. So we are going to get our money back, and then we're going to make money after that. So, and also we have to look at people in Nashville. This park is not for them. This park is for all of us and our families to utilize. So it's local recreation. So also it's for tourism, because people are going to drive for miles and miles around coming in here to utilize Warriors Pass State Park, which is a beautiful park. Got the horse riding and golf and water, all kind of amenities. So with tourism coming in, what was it, $1 that you had that you got to spend, you got $1.10 or so return.
That's correct.
So you've got money coming in. So it's like investing in a fixed account where that we know we're not going to lose. We're going to get our money back and keep building from there. Excuse me. So I would like to be put as a co-sponsor on this, because I think it's a big win for our area. And if we're going to lose the money, I would think twice. But this is not a loss. This is something that's going to enhance the way of life for this community, and I will vote yes. Thank you.
Commissioner George.
Thank you. My understanding is this is a $6.9 million investment.
Six point six.
$6.6 million investment by the state. If we don't do this, then what that sends the message to the state is that we're not participating. And when you supporting, and when you don't support grant opportunities, your community is not looked upon favorably for the next grant opportunity. This is a wonderful investment. I know a lot of people that walk this park, and when they heard that they would actually have bathrooms available on Duck Island, that was the biggest selling point in the world to them, because a lot of our community uses this park for their health. And this is, we talk a lot about what's required with ADA, and that's our obligation, to provide facilities that are ADA compliant to the citizens of our community. We are not one of the healthiest communities, and we are always looking in terms of recruiting people to live here. And this state park is a big help in recruiting people to move into this area. I think when you talk about the tax dollars, and then you talk about all the additional tax spent when people do travel, but a lot of people, when I am touring people to look at choosing this community to relocate their family, I take them through that park. That's somewhere we always drive through, because it's a big selling point to live in Sullivan County. And, you know, that's one of our big things, is trying to get people to live here, and it's a quality of life issue. And I think we have to look at it not just in terms of the dollars, but what it does for the quality of the people that live here that we represent. And I think the return is there. This was passed unanimously last night, or Tuesday night in Kingsport. So it was done there on that part. So I just wanted to, and I think too, my understanding is that they're gonna renovate put a basketball court and renovate 2 tennis courts as part of this too, or?
Yes, we have the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant coming to address the items on Duck Island that we had to drop out of the scope of this project. So that's going to include renovating 3 of the picnic shelters and all of the sports courts.
I think it's just a wonderful asset to our community, and I'm thrilled that the state felt that we deserved a $6.6 million renovation of our asset here. So I'm honored. I'd like to be co-sponsor, and I'm thankful for it.
Commissioner Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to share a story with you all that I experienced just 2 weeks ago. A lady had come in to my hair salon, and her husband was here camping, and they had been up at the Pinnacle that morning and had been shopping. They come in to get their hair cut, and they had dropped their dog off at one of the groomers there in Colonial Heights to get their dogs groomed because they were out there for 4 weeks. This is a one-time funding, it's not reoccurring, and we are bringing money back into the county coffers here. We can't sit here and not spend money and expect to make money when it's a big, huge project like this, when the state is putting that much money in there. I think the taxpayers would be very grateful for us to take their tax money and invest it back into our county here on things that our communities can enjoy, plus it bringing in revenue for us. So I hope everyone supports this.
That clears the board. I yield back to Commissioner Jones for a final comment on item number 3.
Well, I just want to echo the comments that have been made, and I'll call for the question.
Question's been called for. When the board opens, please cast your vote. Madam Clerk.
15 yes, 1 abstain, 4 absent.
After receiving the necessary majority of the votes cast, item 3 is adopted without objection. Terry Harper-Rowe, Commissioner Harper-Rowe, I recognize you on item number 7. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm immensely grateful for the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is mainly a housekeeping measure. It's been through all the committees. It's just trying to clean up the map and let the owners that own the property, one portion that is in question, go ahead and let them purchase whatever amount it's going to take. But anyway, it went through both committees. Budget committee hadn't met, but I moved for the vote.
You've heard the explanation. Anyone wish to discuss item number 7? When the board opens, cast your vote on item number 7. Madam Clerk?
19 yes, 1 abstain, 4 absent.
After receiving the necessary majority of the votes cast for passage, item number 7 is adopted. Moving on to item number 11. Commissioner Vance is not here. I'm the co-sponsor on that, and that was previously on the consent calendar, but that has been pulled off. We're going to, for the purposes of running through the committee process, we've got some more information we wish to gather about that. So item number 11 under the first reading. Without objection, moving on to item number 12, I recognize Commissioner Broughton for explanation of item number 12.
There we go.
Commissioner Broughton.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. This resolution's on first reading, and this will go through the standing committees we have. But myself and Mr. Akers have worked on a spreadsheet, and we presented it to the mayor some time ago, and he was supposed to get back with us. And I guess due to other responsibilities, he never did, so we wanted to pull this forward. This is not a demand, but a request. And what we would like to see is we would like to see half of each committee rotate through each year. That way, you would have 50% of the committee with experience and 50% new. The value of this would be the diversity. You know, all my adult life in the working world, I've been told that the strength of everything is diversity. And, you know, the old adage, you can't get a job without experience, vice versa. Well, I hear over and over, you know, well, we don't have experience on this. Well, this is the way folks can get experience. You know, we do not need the same people in the same positions over and over and over. Because you have to take everybody else's word for how the other things work. This way you have firsthand experience of how the different committees work. Like I said, this will be on first reading. Any questions, I'll be glad to entertain them. Or Mr. Baker, if you'd like to add to it, you're more than welcome.
Commissioner Aaron, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, sir. Just one thought. I have no problem with that, but there'll be some cases where a person will feel uneasy sitting on a certain committee, maybe like the budget committee. And so is any way you could add in there with the approval of the commissioners effective, just because they have a right to turn it down is what I'm saying, if they're uncomfortable.
Yes, sir, we can add that. I don't see the necessity. We can ask Mr. Street about it. But when I've been back and forth talking to Mr. Street quite a bit about all this, and it's my understanding that when the committees are presented to the commission, that you have a choice to vote on it right then. So if you were uncomfortable, you could ask to be moved right then. And that's something I didn't understand last year at this time, which I think we're going to address this later tonight, and at the end of the meeting, I will if nobody else brings it up. When you meet to form the committees or to do whatever, everything has to be approved by the commission. You know, it doesn't matter what you're handed. If you turn it back in, then we've got to relook at it. And that would address that issue. But thank you for your question.
Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Herring, I probably have heard that comment from other people maybe in the past. That's why things are done. There's been like I said, we tried to do this kind of behind the scenes so it wouldn't be open to the public. But then having done that, there's some discrepancy about whether or not there's supposed to be a nominating committee to actually nominate the members for the committees that would be then presented and voted on by the commission. And there's some gray area. We're looking at it. That's why it's first reading. But my other comment is, and I think it's just a very fair comment, you know, we asked to be here. We went out, put our names on a ballot, and asked for the people to vote us here. And if you're uncomfortable doing the job, then I think you need to, that's a personal decision about why someone would be here or not be here. And I think that's why we presented this stuff as, so that way you'd have new and old together. It's a pretty simple spreadsheet, 50% turnover every year, because the 157,000 community members that elected us want us to do the job, and, you know, we've got 3 years left in this, and we're staring down a hole of another $100 million bond on top of a $140 million bond. So we're looking at straddling the people with 250, give or take, $1 million worth, that none of us are ever gonna see the end of life. I mean, well, statistically speaking, I might, Andrew Cross might, but. Well, you know, those are the stats I live in with my life, so. You know, so yeah, I mean, if you don't want to, but the point is, there's a lot of rules and regulations that we probably should be abiding by, and that you know, we're gonna bring to light, and I hope to. And that way you would have the option to do it. Like I said, this is just a recommendation. It's not a resolution. I don't like resolutions. It's just saying, you know, doing the answer, because we've always done it that way, is not suffice for the answer for me anymore. And so, that's all. Just all it is.
Commissioner George.
Thank you. I think it's wonderful for people to have the opportunities to move around. Being new to this commission, the first year, I mean, for me, there was a big learning curve. The information here is presented very differently than what I'm used to seeing. I have a whole different appreciation, and I won't make some of the mistakes I made a year ago today, because I've learned a lot. And on some of these committees, what I have found in other lives is the second year on a committee is when I actually understand how the data is presented, what the data means, which way to expect it, who the players are, and I'm much more informed to ask the right questions. And I think if you rotate every year trying to get people around, you know, you won't get the benefit of the knowledge you learn the first year. And I think it's wonderful that you're thinking of leaving some people on. Some people like me, I have learned so much, and I know I still have so much more to learn. And I think a lot of people here have expertise in certain areas because of their backgrounds, and they bring a lot to the table on certain committees. And if you've got someone that is a true asset on a certain committee, I hate to lose that and put them on something that they're not going to bring a lot to the table just because we all want to rotate. I feel like I now understand, I know a lot of y'all have dealt with data this way for years. I'm used to receiving things differently. A lot of the stuff that we did this year, that a lot of the conversations we had and what we voted on, my vote would have been different if I had understood the whole process. Now we've done a year. I know what to ask. And so I think it's wonderful that you were saying leave some old people, but Experience. Well, since you're gonna live longer than the rest of us, but, since I'm on the old people, but I think there is something actually being said, because I know the second year I've sat on committees, I actually feel that I contribute and bring a lot more to them. And if you're rotated all the time, you don't know the players, you don't know how it's presented, you don't know who is, I don't want to say who's bringing you the most accurate information, but you receive information from a lot of sources, and you need to be able to have a sense of how to weight it for the final outcome. And so I think there is something to be said to leave maybe more than 50% people on committees, because a lot of us, this is our second year. A lot of people that have been here longer have a lot more background and knowledge, but for me, I would like to finish learning on one thing before I get thrown to something else where I don't feel like I'm contributing.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's just a recommendation. We don't have the authority to really do it. Yeah, but there's a different way to think about things. There's a different way to possibly some rules and regulations we should be doing that maybe we're not doing. And that's all it is. You know, that's all it is.
Commissioner Herron, you're recognized.
Yes. We used to have a sign-up sheet that the mayor would give out each year, and everybody would just put that on there. But I'm for people serving on different committees. I have absolutely no problem with that. I've been chair of the insurance committee, chair of the education committee, co-chair of the ethics committee, chairman of the admin committee. I've served on the executive committee, the budget committee, and about every committee here. And that's where you get your knowledge, is when you go from committee to committee and learn. But I agree with Colette on what she was saying also. Thank you.
Commissioner Love.
Commissioner Brookman and Ankert, I think that's a great idea. I think when you serve on the administrative committee, you serve on the executive committee, you serve on the budget committee, I think when you get switched to other committees, that will make you a better commissioner, because you understand what these departments' needs and wants are. The administrative committee, you're dealing with the sheriff's department, you're dealing with other departments. Executive committee, you're dealing with the highway department, you're dealing with other departments there. And I think once that you get on those committees, you get a feel of what other departments want, and I think it makes us a better commissioner. I think it makes us think a little more, it gets us more into what we're voting on and deciding for each department. And I think that's what we're here for. And I think it's a good idea. The budget committee too. I think new members on that budget committee is a great idea also. And I think I'm in 100% support of that, and I hope everybody else is too.
Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized.
Commissioner George, I appreciate what you're saying about learning the process and people being on committees that can exercise their gifts and abilities. I think that's incredibly important. I think the process at this point, I don't know how their gifts and abilities line up with the process of being placed on these committees. And I would think, read through the rules a couple of times. To me, there's some question about the nominating committee that, and historically was appointed in July. And then the nominating committees would actually present who would be on those committees. And even the budget committee, to some extent, there's some, in terms of Tennessee code allows for the commission's participation with that, with the mayor and his appointees. I think we've got to look at the way that it's the process itself, how people are populating those committees, that way it moves around. You're right about keeping people with experience on there, but at the same time, people with their abilities lining up, their matching too is important. So I hope that in the process of this, that we look as well about why we're not having a nominating committee that used to be the case until I think 2011, then it sort of disappeared. So hopefully we can revisit that too.
That clears the board. I recognize Commissioner Broughton for final remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. In closing, like I said, this is on first reading, and I'm sure it's going to evolve a little bit during the committee meetings. But yeah, I just want to remind folks, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. That's why we're making this a recommendation, not an outright resolution. Maybe it would be a smart move to just change 3 on one committee 1 year. If you have something coming up, and maybe it's on, maybe you're having an issue on funeral homes, you need Mr. Aker's expertise on that committee that time, or something like that. But like I said, it's just on first reading, something to think about.
Well, we did close out.
That's fine.
Okay. Commissioner Starnes, I recognize you on item number 13.
Thank you. After our work session the other night, just hearing everything about the jail, how much it's going to cost, how many inmates are over there, it really bothered me. So this resolution is just a request for everybody to sit down and get on the same page, see what we're doing, what if we need to change something. And this brings in the judges, the district attorney, and the public defender. And I know these people are busy, and they have a lot to do, but I feel like we're doing our part, and these people need to help us. It brings in the sheriff, the district attorney, the public defender, the criminal court judges, and the general sessions judges. And this is just a request for them to come up with ideas to help us with the short-term inmate population. Yes.
Commissioner Starnes moves first reading on item number 13. Recognize Commissioner Hager.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is a great idea. I mean, this is what a lot of us are asking about. I think there probably is a lot of work going on that we're just not maybe aware of. I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but I think when Commissioner Herring got up and spoke earlier, I mean, that was verbatim stuff that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I appreciate that. I mean, you know, when we were presenting the facility study last week, you know, between the bids and building and whatever road we figure out, we're still 3 to 4 or 5 years away. And in the meantime, we could be doing some of these projects, hopefully quicker, sooner, cheaper, to help alleviate some of the jail population. And it's going to take the work of everybody to get it done. And I think we need to start putting some time on the table to say, when are we going to see some results and everything? Because we need to keep the sheriff officers safe. I mean, that's most important. And so I'm kind of looking over there because Commissioner Herring brought it up earlier, and Alicia and Todd, so thank y'all.
Commissioner Herring, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, I'm really glad that Commissioner Starnes brought this up. I had done my notes and I didn't know about yours, and I think they fit hand in glove. Since we're in session and not up at the podium, I would like to see it if you could add that we'll have a special call meeting like I was talking about, and have these people who can make decisions here, and let's go ahead and instead of talking about it, let's go ahead and do it and see what result. If you could take that up, I'd appreciate it.
Commissioner Starnes, you still wish to run this on this first reading? Item number 13, on first reading without objection. Moving on to item number 14. Again, Commissioner Vance is not in attendance. I'm the co-sponsor on this as well. I also wish to move first reading for the purposes of more information, run this through the committee process. And that completes the resolution calendar. And if anyone has any closing comments, I'd like to recognize you. I'll start with Commissioner Crawford. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Just want to make mention our mayor will be entering in the hospital tomorrow for surgery. And I would just ask everyone to certainly keep him in your prayers and your thoughts.
Thank you. Commissioner Broughton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. You know, one thing that, you know, the mayor said a while back, he said, you know, we all need to look at ourselves and ask us why we run to be on the commission. And you know what we're here for. And the one thing that stuck in my mind was consistency. You know, and I do my best to be consistent. I try real hard to be consistent. Well, there are certain rules we have to go by. And one of those rules is the TCA code, and it is right here. The legislative body, that meaning the commission, at its first session on or after September the 1st of each year, shall elect from its membership a chair, and chair pro tem provided. So I feel like we need to do that tonight. And I know some people may disagree with that because some people are absent. Well, there again, let's go to consistency. When Mr. Shull won mayor of Kingsport, his seat had to be replaced. Well, I asked to put off for 30 days to give Mr. Honaker a chance to be here. And the majority said, no, we needed to move forward. So I expect the majority to move forward with this to show some consistency. That being said, I'd like to like to move forward with this and nominate Herschel Love to be chairman of the commission.
Second.
I didn't expect that, but,
I'm about to vote, Martin.
I'm not familiar with that statute.
I can show it to you, I can forward it to you.
Oh, I don't dispute it. I was asked about that, and I found in our rules where the rules provide, our own rules provide that we elect a chairman in October. And I found a letter that I'd written to Mayor Godsey back several years ago, wherein I said that the history has been that the county commission elected them in October. But our model rules specifically state that we will elect a chairman in October. So, I guess, I mean, I don't, you know, here it is, this is section 1-2-38.2, the chairman. Section A, annually at its October regular meeting, the board shall elect a chairman and a chairman pro tem. I mean, I guess you would have to suspend this rule, because that's a rule we have in our, what few rules we have in our local rules, that is one of them.
I'm reading you from the TCA 5-5-103 under officers. I was doing some homework and it come up. I'll be glad to share it with anybody. I'm just trying to stay consistent and stay within the rules.
Well, when you say consistent, again, like I said, I have a letter here from January 2008 where I wrote Steve Godsey, then mayor, and I said, the history of Sullivan County has been for the county commission to approve the committee assignments at the October meeting. Well, that's usually when we do the chairman too, but I guess that didn't specifically address the chairman as I thought I did in that letter, but anyway, the rules provide, you know, I still think the rules say it's to be done in October.
September last year.
Well, I'm not saying you can't do it in September, I suppose, for that matter, you can do it in June if you wanted to, but,
No.
well, sure you could.
Change the rules. Okay. If you change the rules.
I mean, your question is, the statute says to do it in September, did it say the first meeting after the 1st of September?
Correct.
If you don't do it then, I mean, if you're saying you have to do it then or else, clearly that wouldn't be true, because if you missed that meeting and you didn't elect the chairman according to that theory, you could never elect the chairman, so clearly that wouldn't be a proper interpretation. So, to do it in October, it would be perfectly valid, and then you fall back on the rules. And you know, look, you say we don't follow the rules, okay, I'm gonna write that down, because the next time you come up with a rule, then I'm gonna present that back to you.
Excuse me a second. Okay, okay, while I've got it, I see where you're coming from. I'm gonna recognize Michael Cole. Just leave your mic on, Attorney Street. Well, we have a list, I'm gonna go by the list. You're recognized, Commissioner Cole. You're recognized, sir.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so let's go ahead and if we can suspend the rules, let's suspend the rules. Somebody nominated Glover, somebody nominates Venable, let's get on with it, let's do it. It's a ploy, it's a power play, let's go.
Commissioner Blaylock, you're recognized.
Well, my feeling is, and I love Herschel, and there's no problem with that deal, but I'm just saying this is not the proper time. There's a guy that's been our mayor. He's going into the hospital for a major operation. A lot of people don't even make it. And for us to make a decision like this tonight is wrong. And I could not support this.
Thank you.
That's what I say.
Commissioner Hutton, sir, you're recognized.
My address was towards Mr. Street's comment, which I thought was out of order.
I would like to remind everybody that we can disagree, like I've said many times, we can disagree, but we don't have to disrespect. That goes from there to here and from here to there. Attorney Street, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just saying, I mean, we have rules and I try to keep up with them, but, you know, oftentimes we take action, that might run contrary to some of our rules. And I always try to keep that in mind. If it passes by more than 16 votes, there's a presumption that you suspended the rules in there, but, I mean, I'm for following the rules and identifying the rules. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. We have a rule that says we elect the chairman in October. Last year, we elected him in September. I mean, if the argument is that we didn't suspend the rules, I mean, you know, it's hard to keep track of all that. And sometimes I feel like when I speak up and get technical like that, it just causes more trouble than anything. So anyway, that was my point I was trying to make. And if you say we're gonna follow the rules, then I'm all for it, but you can't say that and then not follow them.
I'm keeping notes here. I'm going to recognize you, Commissioner Starnes, but first, we do have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Cole to move for suspension of the rules.
Suspend the rules, motion, yeah.
I second that.
Okay. Do you still seek recognition?
These others on the floor, that's Anderson.
Yeah,
Have a
we're
proper
gonna take a
motion,
voice
proper
vote.
second.
We'll take a voice vote for that.
This will require, we're simply voting on, at this point, we're simply voting on the suspension of the rules to consider the nominations. So then we'll go back to your nomination.
My issue with that is we didn't do this last year. We did this in September last year. Why do we have to suspend the rules this year? I don't understand that. That's confusing to me.
Am I correct that, since our rules state October, we do have to call for suspension of the rules, because that's what I'm understanding you to say?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
And no, I'm not saying that's not correct. I'm saying, as a commissioner, last year in September, we did this without suspension of the rules. that's where I start having trouble with lack of consistency. You know, I mean, if we're gonna do it one way one time, how can we say the next time it's gonna be a different way?
I agree, I hear exactly what you're saying, but to be honest with you, probably in September of last year, it never crossed my mind that the rule said it was supposed to be done in October. It never crossed anybody else's mind, and I predict if you look at the vote, it probably passed by 16 votes, which had enough votes to suspend the rules. A lot of times, I mean, I can't go back and address why we didn't suspend the rules back a year ago. I'm just simply telling you today that it's not even on the agenda to elect the chairman. And we have a rule that says it's supposed to be done in October. I'm just telling you what your own rules say.
And I appreciate that, I'm just basing it on my experience. You know, my experience up here is it wasn't on the agenda last year either. You know, it just.
When you speak of experience, you're talking about 1 year or 25 years?
1 year, right here.
Excuse me.
All I know is
Excuse
what
me.
I see.
Right. It's like a tennis match. We can do that for a long time. Recognize Commissioner Aaron.
Yes, I just had one question. Can you nominate somebody that's not here then? That's the only question I got. And that may be for Dan.
I don't see any reason you can't. I mean, again, I didn't expect this to come up. I don't think that's a problem. I mean, the only thing I can think of is if you nominate somebody and they're not willing to serve, then if anybody has any concern that person you're thinking about nominating wouldn't be willing to serve, that could be an issue.
Commissioner Stidham, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, if we're not going to suspend the rules, we're going to go to the vote. Are we opening the floor for nominations?
If we're not going to suspend the rules, then we are going to open the floor for a vote. The floor is open for nominations.
I nominate John Gardner. I'll second that.
I'm currently seeking the position of pro temp, and at this evening, I'll have to not accept that particular nomination, but thank you. Is the floor open for other?
My nomination stand, it has a valid second.
It does.
Floor's still open, right?
The floor is open for nominations.
Then I would not.
Trying to click you there.
At this time, I'd like to nominate Richard Dell for chairman of the Sullivan County Commission.
Commissioner Marina, you're recognized, sir.
I would second that nomination of Richard Dillon.
You seeking recognition, Commissioner Broughton?
Yes, sir, I am. When I nominated Mr. Homaker in his absence, I was told you had to have a signed letter saying that he would be willing to fulfill that seat. Is there such a letter from the mayor?
Attorney Street?
I'd have to go get that statute and see exactly what that says. I think that's, I'd have to go read and see what it says.
I entertain a motion for a 15-minute recess.